Hey y'all, what's up? It's Samantha. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are returning to my channel, good to see you again. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. If you've been watching my recent covers, you'll notice that I have this beautiful glass case with all my plants in it, and I'm absolutely obsessed with my plants. So I wanted to take you guys on a plant tour and show you the plants that I have. But first, let me just give you an overview of what this glorious case looks like. And I have it over in my little studio area. It's definitely kind of a mess right now. Like, you guys can see how many cables come with not only a computer, but all the music equipment. I just love having my plants with me while I'm streaming and while I'm working on music stuff. I just feel like it totally adds to the vibe. So that's what my studio looks like. Oh, Ari wants to come say hi. Ari, you saying hello? It's my chicken nugget. It's my chicken nugget, Ari. I normally have it spinning all day. So with the setup, what we decided to do, we were trying to figure out how to configure the case, because this was a glass case from my grandma. She had it for a long time. She used to put her precious moments in it. And she asked me if I could have any use for it. And I was like, ooh, I could put my plants in it. Because I've seen all the different like IKEA cabinets and stuff, but I'm like, this is glass all the way around. And I feel like that'd be so cool. But we were trying to figure out how to configure the lights and like the best way to go about all that. So what my boyfriend and I came up with was to put 4 2-foot lights going vertically on the sides, and then we put the motor in it to spin. So that way it hits all the plants all day. And now I've never seen a setup like that. So this is honestly kind of an experiment in itself. And it's been spinning just fine. I have the lights on and I have it spinning 12 hours a day right now. And I'm hoping to see if that's going to be enough for my succulents. If they look like they're stretching even the slightest bit, I will up how long I have the lights on. But I'm starting with 12 hours. I've only had this case for like 2 or 3 weeks now, I think. The motor started making this awful noise yesterday, and then it like stopped spinning at one point. So I haven't had him look at it yet, but he's gonna, I think, look at it and figure out why it's making that noise, see if we need to put a different motor in it, because it might just be a little bit heavy with all the plants. I'm not sure. So I mostly have succulents, and as a lot of you guys probably know, succulents require a lot of sunlight and they don't like to be overwatered. And the environment in Buffalo, New York is not exactly ideal for those. As soon as the first day of fall hit, the temperature dropped and it's been raining on and off every day. I originally had my succulents outside on my balcony on just like a shoe rack that didn't fit in my closet. So that's what I used to put my succulents on over the summer. Once it's not summer anymore, we really shouldn't leave them outside here. So a lot of my friends in the area, like, they'll come to me like with their succulents, like, why is mine like all stretched out like this? And most of the time it's just because there's just not enough sunlight around here. And unless you have the perfect window and you can clump all your plants against that window, it's really hard to find a good spot for succulents around here. So I personally love hearing how people's plant obsessions start. And for me personally, it started at a baby shower. They had little 2-inch succulent gifts to give out at the end of the baby shower. And I just thought they were so cute. I'd never had a houseplant before. And I've heard a lot of my friends say that they've had a hard time with succulents, and I was like, challenge accepted. This thing is so cute. I don't want to let it die. I wasn't able to have any pets at the time or anything. So I was like, ooh, a form of life I can take care of. Let's go for it. So it was a little 2-inch jade plant, and when I show you all my plants, I will probably start with that one because it only makes sense to show where my obsession started, but I still have it. And I actually got 2 plants from that baby shower. Someone else there was like, I don't know if I'll be able to take care of it. Do you want it? And I was like, okay. So I was like extra determined to make sure they stayed alive. So that's where my succulent obsession started. So yeah, my coffee pot's really loud, but it's necessary. Yeah, so I started with those 2 succulents and I still have them. And since then, like, I've mostly been gifted most of my plants because I started like posting pictures on Facebook and stuff, and people in my life were like, this made me think of you, here's a plant. So I will go through my succulents first, and then I've actually branched out into a couple other houseplants, and I will show you guys those at the end. And so for the purpose of today's video, I think I'm just gonna mostly be showing you guys what plants I have, and not really going into like specific care details and stuff. So if you have any questions or want me to make any videos about any specific plants, let me know what you'd be interested in. But I have a bunch of plants and I know I can ramble on and talk all day about them, so I think I'm just going to show them to you guys. Just lots of light, good draining soil, make sure that there's a hole in the bottom of the pot, and let them completely dry out before you water them again, but give them a good soak when you do water them. Here we go. So this is my jade plant. This is the plant that started it all about 4 years ago. So it looks kind of funky right now, but that's just because like these stick parts, they were actually growing out like to like here, and they were starting to get top heavy, because what happens is as it grows, the new leaves grow at the end and the old leaves eventually fall off. And you can see where like the lines are, that's where like new leaves and stuff will grow. But I just cut these a few weeks ago. I want to shape it more into like a little bonsai tree. But where I cut at each of the spots, there's 2 new tiny little growths growing. It's only been a couple weeks since I chopped it, so it's doing really well. I'm happy to see that there's new growth. And then I actually cut 4, but I'm just gonna show you 2, but I actually cut 4 little, these are the sticks that I cut off, and I just put them in their own pot, so hopefully they will root and grow. But yeah, if you want me to make videos on updates on that, let me know. And let's move on to the next one. This is my Haworthia plant. I've actually had it for a few years. I actually got this mother plant in Nashville, and I think this one actually has a growing season in like the winter. Don't quote me on that, but some of them, their growing season, most of them, their growing season is gonna be spring, summer. But I actually propagated this one last year, and that's where all these little babies came from. This one's in such a cute little pot. I think I took off like 11. I don't know if you could see, but there's actually a couple new pups growing on it too, so that's exciting. And I have a few of them left. Some of them I gave away as gifts, and some of them I also want to see if I can trade for other plants. I might keep one of the other baby ones just so I can have another one, because why not? This next one is pretty cool. As you can see, this is the mother plant, and there's a lot of babies already growing off of this one. So in the summertime, when it gets a lot of light, it'll actually get like a lot of bright red tips on the edge, but since it's cooling down, it's going into its dormant season, it's going back to green. But yeah, this one actually, I got it in a pack off of Amazon, and it was just a little 2-inch thing, and it's actually grown quite a few babies. So this is one of the ones that I'd already propagated off of it, and this one is growing its own little babies too, which is awesome. But yeah, I actually have 3 of these ones, the little ones. And then when I chopped the head off of the main plant, this one, this was the original stem it was growing off of, and it's growing a ton of little ones off of it. Like I said, these ones are actually like super beautiful in the summertime when there's that bright red color. But this one, I think it's a type of echeveria. I don't know all the names of them, but this is definitely one of my favorites, and I just repotted it into a bigger pot this year. So there's that one. So this strange little cute guy, I think these are like so weird looking that they're adorable. I think it's called a Lithop. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it. And the cool thing about these is like these need, I think, even less water than most succulents. These leaves are so thick, they actually hold a bunch of water, and how they work is once a year, there's like 2 new leaves in the middle, and the outer leaves split open, and the new leaves grow in, but they feed off the water and the nutrients from the old leaves. So once they start splitting, you stop watering them, which it goes for months. The cool thing is this started off as 1 set of leaves, and then 1 year when it split open, it split into 2 new plants, which is cool. So this cute little guy, it's weird, but it's adorable, and I love it. And I know there's some that come in like other colors, and I want to see if I can get some more colors of this one. But yeah, This is another echeveria that came in that same pack. It started off as a little tiny 2-inch one too. I just love the shape of it, and I'm very grateful that my succulents have stayed really compact. This one's leaning a little bit to the side, if you can tell, but that's probably just where most of the sun was, where it was placed on the shoe rack outside. It was leaning towards the light, I think. But you can see there's a tiny, well, maybe you can see, I don't know if there's enough light, but there's a tiny little baby growing off the bottom in there. All of my succulents are very special to me, but this one I'm extra proud of because this one was actually given to me because it was a gift to someone else, and I guess they like didn't want it. And it was literally just left to die. It had like just like one leaf barely hanging on. All the rest of it had rotted away. And it was given to me like, do you think you could save this? Do you want it? And I don't know if this one's called the Panda Paws or the Chocolate Soldier. I don't know. They all have funny little nicknames. But at first I thought it was a Panda Paws. But those ones I think have like more round leaves, and these ones are like longer. But they're like super fuzzy and adorable. And so the fact that this one came back from just one leaf at the very bottom, like it is a little bit stretched out. So I think once it gets a little bit bigger, I might just like chop the head off and repot that and then let the stem continue to grow. You can see there's also a couple little babies in there too. So I'm just really proud of this one, and I think it's just adorable with its little fuzzy leaves and the little burst of color at the ends, and yeah. Now this baby right here is definitely a crowd pleaser and one of my personal favorites. I also got this one when I visited Nashville a few years ago, and this is the Sedum Burrito or donkey's tail. I don't know the scientific name for it, but I actually saw like a plant like this when I visited the botanical gardens a few years ago, and I wanted one for myself. When I first got it, like all these draping leaves, there were like three stalks that were like this long. That's it. And it's grown like crazy. I actually just repotted this one, and when you repot these, like all these individual leaves fall off so easily. But when the leaves fell off, I just kind of put them in the dirt at the top, and they will hopefully grow into their own new plants. So I'm just trying to be really careful with this because I did just repot this a few days ago, and I don't want anything bad to happen to this baby. But yes, I am obsessed with this one. It's grown quite a bit, so. Okay, so this aloe plant is actually like my monster succulent right now. I got it for I think $6 at the grocery store, and usually they don't have very nice looking plants, I've noticed, but this one was just like a little, I think it was like a 4-inch cup. And it had like the main plant, and it already had a couple baby ones growing off of it. So I was like, you know what? I'll grab it. And the funny thing is, there's actually already so many little baby ones growing in the pot with it. So I'll eventually take those out too. But the funny thing is, like the new growth, I actually have one of them next to me. So I don't have all the little pups out. I'll be showing you guys my propagation stuff in a little bit. But like you see how they grow flat like that? As they mature, they actually start to spin and get that more aloe shape that we are familiar with. Like you see how this one's more like it goes all the way around instead of sticking one direction. So as it grows, it actually starts off like flat like a fan, and then it spins out. But yeah, so, and I painted this pot too. Yeah, I repotted it into here this last summer, and just this last summer it grew from like this tall to like this tall. So I guess it just wanted a bigger pot and more sunshine, and that was its growing season. So yeah, so I have a bunch of little babies off of this one, and I think I might either try to trade or sell them so I can get more plants. All right, so these are 2 echeverias that are like the same ones. I got them at the same time, and they also came in that Amazon pack I got. I think it was like 6 or 8 of them, but they were just like a pack of 6 or 8 little 2-inch succulents. So these were like teeny tiny with just a few leaves. And the funny thing is like I've treated them exactly the same, and this is just proof that like no 2 plants are the same. This one has stayed smaller, like more, I don't know, like round shaped. And also it's had more leaves fall off, so it's got kind of like a little branch underneath. I don't know if you can even see those roots. Why is the light not being cool? But so this one has stayed a little bit smaller, and this one is just like a big, full, it like looks like a flower. But I think that they're both absolutely beautiful. I did take a couple leaves off the bottom of this one to propagate them. I'm not entirely sure how big these get, but I feel like this one's probably getting to be as big as it will get. I don't know. It also looks like the roots are starting to come out from the bottom, so I might try to repot this into a bigger one next spring. I'm really gonna try and be patient to wait to repot my plants, because I'm obsessed with watching them grow, but I need to like let them live their dormant lives and take a nap so that they can grow. You know what I mean? But I did take, since a lot of these were already falling off anyway, I took some of the more mature leaves from this one to try and propagate them and hopefully grow some new ones. But I think these are absolutely beautiful. And then you can kind of tell maybe, but like in the summertime, this one turns more like a bluish purpley color. But yeah, whenever they're like in ideal situations, they turn more green, but when they're stressed, they turn more vibrant colors. This is another echeveria, and I don't know if you could tell, the pot is like the size of my head. And this came in the same pack as those other ones. Like some of them grow like crazy. I've had these for, I don't know, at least 2, maybe 3 years now, I think. But this one also grows like bright red. You can mostly see the red underneath. The middle of the summer, it's even more bright red. If you live in a warmer climate, you'll probably get more color more of the year than here. But like this is a pretty solid succulent right here. Some of the bigger leaves that were on it at the beginning of the summer, like I said, old leaves like die off, and that's just what happens. So this one, like the big leaves were actually sticking out of the edge of the pot. Like they were so big. And I definitely need to repot this one in the spring. This one grew like crazy this summer. Look at the roots. Like, what? It's crazy. It's crazy. But I absolutely think this one is so beautiful. And it's been really cool watching it grow from like a little 2-inch pot to this guy. So yes, succulents grow slow, but they are so beautiful once they grow. And it's actually got a little offset growing. I don't know if you could see it, but like it's got a little baby one growing off of it. So once that one gets a little bigger, I'm gonna put it in its own little 2-inch pot. So this also was another one that was a little 2-inch cutting. Honestly, probably even a tiny bit smaller than the ones I just cut off of it. So this one has been really cool. I think this one's called a golden sedum. And I really wish I would have done this video literally even just a few weeks ago. This one also did get a little bit sunburned. You can kind of see like a little bit darker edges on some of the leaves, but you can kind of see a little bit of the bright colors. So in the summertime, this one, the edges actually turn like a reddish orangish, like really bright, beautiful color. There's actually a lot of new little heads growing off of it in all different directions. So some of them got kind of long and branchy. So I cut off a few of the heads of them and repotted them. This one's got like 2 on it. It's super cute. Once those are a little more stable, like I said, I might keep one and then see if I'll either trade or sell the other 2 for more plants. But you can see on this one too, like where I cut off the heads of it, it's already growing new little babies off of it. And I actually took some leaves from it too, and they're in my little propagation trays. So these grow, for a succulent, they seem to grow really fast. You can see they're in a nice big pot. I repotted it this year. But yeah, I'm really proud of this one. And it looked better before I chopped the heads off of it, of course, but it'll grow back. And yeah, I'm really proud of this one. This little guy is doing so good. So this little guy is a perfect example of plants can be weird and different and do what they want to do. So this one was also in that pack from Amazon of the 2-inch succulents. This one wanted to grow sideways from the get-go. So I actually took off the head of this one and I'm growing the leaves off of this one. I've seen other succulents of this same type that grew straight up and down, but the stem, even though I cut the head off of it. It's growing little babies all across the stem of it. And these are 2-inch pots. So this is like literally the size of the pots that it came in. Some of them already were growing. So I took the cuttings, the little baby pups off of those. And I'm regrowing those. But that just goes to show that like, even if you like get a plant and it grows weird, like I treated this the same as all the other ones. So I don't know why it wanted to grow sideways. It just did. I even tried cutting the head off of that one and repotting it, and it just grew sideways again. So I don't know. But also, just as a side note, if you've never had succulents and you're wanting to get into them, or maybe you have other houseplants and you want to get into succulents, they look beautiful when they're already big and mature. But I would honestly say if you're just starting out, I would go for like just the little ones, because they do grow slow, but there's something so satisfying about looking at an old plant, like a little bitty plant, and then after some time passes, take a picture of your plant when you first get it, and then when you look back on how much it's grown and how beautiful it's become, there's just something so satisfying. Not to mention, it is so much cheaper to buy a little baby succulent that's just starting out than it is to buy a big mature plant. So, and if you're just starting out with something and you don't know how it's gonna go, like me personally, like I wasn't at a point where I could be like, oh, let me just go spend hundreds of dollars on succulents. Like I said, most of these were either gifts from people or they were just in like the smaller packages of just random varieties of succulents. So if you're just starting to get into succulents, I would say go for the little ones because they're cheaper and it's really satisfying to watch them grow. So these are my Aeonium Kiwis, and these also came in an Amazon pack of, I feel like that's where most of my succulents came from, but it was a gift from Amazon, and this is actually like the main plant, and I was so mad at Ari. So these plants actually grow, they grow long stick looking shapes. If you look up Aeonium Kiwi, like you'll see what I mean. But I cut the head off of this one because I felt like it was just getting top heavy and I just wanted to repot it. So I had it on my coffee table, and normally she leaves my plants alone, but she got a hold of it because I walked away for like 5 minutes, and you can see like the damage she did to the leaves. But as it grows new shoots, like it'll be fine. But I still love it. And honestly, this is one of my favorite succulents, and you can't tell right now, but in the summertime, the edges grow super bright red and they're beautiful and they almost look like tropical colors. So this is another one. This was a cutting I did off of the original one, but I seriously mean like they grow like long stick-like stems and they look like little trees with flowers on the ends and they look so cool. So I'm really looking forward to these growing back out. And I think the only way to propagate these ones is literally by cutting one of the heads off. I don't think that you can propagate these ones from leaves, because I think I read that in an article once and I was kind of bummed out. But these do shoot off a lot of little new growth heads, and they usually grow underneath. Like you could tell this is like the main one, and then underneath is where all the other ones are growing. So it's a really cool succulent. So yeah. All right, so it is time to talk about my string of pearls and my string of hearts. I don't know what it is about the trailing succulents, but they are so beautiful, and I love when they drape over the shelves in the case. They just add this like whimsical, elegant look, in my opinion. So I actually just got my variegated string of pearls and string of hearts off of Etsy. And when I first got them, like variegated plants are a little bit more expensive. So like when I first got them, I was like, that's it. Like the top was barely full of the little pearls. And you can see all the tiny little babies growing off of it. Like it's been doing so well. And when I say variegated, those are like the ones that have like the different colors in it. So you can see the light and the dark green. And so I really wanted the variegated string of pearls and hearts. So I went ahead and got them. And this is the string of hearts. So you can tell like it's, variegated because it's got the pink in it. And this barely had probably 5 or 6 leaves on it at the beginning. I think I got it in the spring. But you can see like it's actually split off and it's growing 2 new vines here. Oh, and it grows these weird looking flowers. Like, do you see those blooms? They look so strange. I didn't know that. And then all of a sudden it had like 5 or 6 of them. Like some of them fell off already. You can see how long it's actually grown. I'm trying to be very careful with it. It is like this long. And when I first got it, it looked like, I don't know, like I said, like maybe 5 or 6 leaves on it. And I remember I paid like $13 for the string of hearts alone. But like I said, the variegated ones, they're a little bit more rare, so they're more expensive. And I was super nervous to, like, I was like, I don't want it to die, because a lot of people say they're really finicky, but I've just had a lot of luck with it. And so the thing is with string of pearls, they say one way you can make them fuller is by, so like if you just have like one strand of them, you can kind of just like loop them into the pot on top of dirt and they'll start rooting and offshooting from there. So that's why the string of pearls looks nice and full, because it was just kind of wrapped around the top and then they grow out. But with the string of hearts, I noticed, because I kind of did the same thing, I left them kind of all sitting on top of the soil, hoping that they'd each branch out. But I don't think that's the case, because I recently looked into how to make them look more full, and some people just wrap them on the top and let them sit there. But I think they just grow from the end of the plant. So I think you actually have to do individual cuttings and let each of those grow their own root. I've been doing a lot of research, so if you guys want me to keep you along with when I do eventually propagate mine and try and make it look a little bit more full, because I want it to look full at the top but still drape down. So I'm just waiting for this to get a little bit bigger before I do that. So it's a little bit harder to make the string of pearls look more full. Did I say pearls or hearts? String of hearts. It's hard to make the string of hearts look more full. And then my original string of pearls actually has kind of an interesting story. So this is what she looks like now. Right? She's got some length to her. Look at that beautifulness. Look at that beauty. And I'm extremely proud of this one because this was actually a gift from my mom and my stepdad, and they surprised me with, it was like a full 6-inch pot of string of pearls. And I had mentioned before I wanted a string of pearls, so they sent me one and it was beautiful in all its glory. And then the next morning I went over and looked at it, and it just looked like they either disappeared or there were like brown mushy pearls in there. And I was like, what did I do? And this was my very first string of pearls, and I've heard that they've been finicky, and I was like, oh my gosh. But then I realized like they sent the plant with the soil fully wet, and you're supposed to let them dry out before you ship them so that they're not sitting in a dark box for days just rotting. And that's what had happened. And I was so sad because it was a gift. I'd wanted the string of pearls, and all that was left was probably a strand like from my fingers to the end. That's about all that was left of it. And I was devastated, but I was like determined to save it. So what I did was I took that last string that was left, put it in a fresh, tiny little pot, honestly about the size of this right here. And I just kind of laid it on top of the dirt and prayed that it would grow, and it did. And like all this has grown from that one strand that survived. And I'm really proud of this little baby. And I actually did just take my first cutting from it, and I have that in its own little pot. So hopefully I can grow another one. So thank you again, Mom and Michael Jack, for that pretty plant. She's coming back and she's thriving. So yes, those are my string of pearls and string of hearts. This is my single cactus that I have. I got this from a produce store that also has like a lot of plants. They're a local shop. And I just got this one because I thought it was super cute, just like the little ball cactus, because it reminded me of a cactus my mom used to have. She named it Curtis. Does not have the cactus anymore, but I was like, yo, it's Curtis Jr. So yeah, here's Curtis Jr. Just a little ball succulent. There's my cactus. This plant is actually another weirdo. This one did come from Amazon too, but this one was a succulent from Florida. But this just came in a 2-inch pot too, and I think this is the original plant. But the weird thing about this one was you can kind of see like one of the sticks right here. It grew like super leggy, and it was just kind of branching over the side, but then a bunch of little ones were growing off of it. And I kind of almost gave up on this one because it just was kind of looking floppy and weird. But what I did was, instead of giving up on it, I put it in a bigger pot with some fresh soil, and I just kind of looped the stem because it was a really flexible stem. A lot of succulent stems are like hard and stuck where they're at, but this one was kind of like flimsy. I just looped it around, and sure enough, it grew off a bunch of little baby ones off of the stem. So I'm glad I did not throw it out. I'm actually really proud of it. Yeah, this guy is weird, but I love him for it. This is one of my succulents that has not been one of my greatest successes, but it was also the second plant that I got from that baby shower right at the beginning. So this plant actually has taught me a lot. As you can see, it's very stretched out. I think this one just requires more light than a lot of the other succulents. You can also see some of the leaves I've taken off of it. Those got sunburned too when I brought it outside this year. So that was unfortunate, but as you can see, the new growth at the top is a lot more compact like it's supposed to be. I'm just kind of letting it grow and do its thing. I might eventually cut the top off and repot that so I can kind of have a fresh start and the stem can keep growing new leaves and new plants. This was actually an offset from it, and I just kind of plopped it back in the dirt next to it. And then I took off some of the older leaves that, like before they were gonna start dying out, I just wanted to try and propagate them. And a couple of them already have little teeny tiny little babies growing off of it. This one just has roots. I really try not to pick up the leaves once they start rooting and stuff because I don't want to disrupt them. While it's not the most perfect looking one, it like just reminds me of how much I've learned and where it kind of all started from, and that new growth is still possible. Succulents really just want to live, and I think it's so cool that most of them will grow new plants from the leaves, and from where old leaves fell off, it'll shoot new leaves out. This goes to even show that I have not been perfect with my succulents, but that's okay. That's part of learning. This plant is another one that almost gave me a mini heart attack because I thought I was killing it, but I didn't. This one actually came from Queen of Succulents on Etsy, and they're based in California. So when I got it first shipped to me, it looked super full and beautiful. I think this says something about jelly beans in the name or something like that. Either jelly beans or blue beans, I'm not sure. They do have more of like a blue color in the summertime than this green right now. But it was nice and full when I got it, and then the next couple days it literally just like wilted. A lot of the leaves fell off, and I was like, what did I do? I just got this thing. And I'm wondering if it was just the transition from the California environment to New York. Like it literally went to the opposite coast. Not ideal growing situations. Like a lot of succulents come from like California, Texas, Mexico, so very different environment. But I kept watering it, and I kind of did a similar thing where like the roots that were still showing or the stems that had kind of grown long, when I put it in this bigger pot, I just kind of laid the stems across the soil and they all started growing new ones. And I've actually taken a couple cuttings from this and given them to friends and family. So I'm really proud of how this little guy recovered, and I know it will just continue to grow. I just put it in this pot in the spring, so this is still a newer pot for this one, but it's okay. And that's just another reason, don't give up on your succulents. This is actually another plant that I got from Queen of Succulents on Etsy. It was probably 2 or 3 years ago at this point that I got these ones. But this one is another type of jade plant. I can't think of it off the top of my head. The leaves on it make me think of Shrek ears, and it's so funny. But this one has a really interesting shape. It literally just looks like a little bonsai tree already. But that's what I mean, like as the leaves grow, the trunk or the stems, they grow a lot harder. This one hasn't really grown a ton for me since I've had it. It's obviously still alive, but I just love it because it's weird and it's cute and it's interesting. And speaking of being gifted succulents, my boyfriend's mom just gave me a couple little baby succulents the other day. We went over for dinner and I saw them sitting on the counter. I was like, oh, that's so cute. You got some new succulents? And she's like, those are actually for you. So I guess she had them in her sunroom during the summer, but it gets cold in there once the weather changes and she wanted them to live. So she gave them to me. So thank you so much for those. They're so cute. This one, like this is about the size of the succulents when I first get them. These are actually probably a little bit bigger because they did really well. She even told me they like doubled in size over the summer. So this one, I have never seen one like this before, but it's super cute. It looks like little clovers almost. So there's this cute little bitty guy. And then this one looks similar to, I mean, this is some type of echeveria, but it looks pretty similar to a couple of the other ones I have. So yeah, this is super cute. And I've never actually seen one like this. It almost looks like the Haworthia because it has like the spiky edges. This one almost looks more like a cactus, but it's super cute and adorable. And I'm really excited to watch these little babies grow. So yeah, I actually really like the little spiky edges. It's got some personality to it. It's super cute. I think that is all for the different types of succulents I have. I'll go through real quick and show you the little baby ones I'm propagating because maybe in a future video they've grown and I will be so excited to show you guys. So let's do it. All of these are little ones that have grown from leaves. But yeah, you see what I mean? Like they grow off the leaf into their own little plants. This is another of the aloe one. There's this guy. I painted like these teeny tiny pots from Hobby Lobby, but the ones that have grown from leaves that actually seem like they're gonna grow into little plants, I just put them in their own little pots so that they can keep growing. Here's another one. This one looks like, that leaf looks like it was from the golden sedum one. And then this one, I think, grew off of that echeveria, that first one that I had that grew super leggy. This is actually just like the lid of a takeout tray, and I just sprinkled a little bit of dirt, and I just have a bunch of random leaves. A lot of these are new, so they don't really have growth yet, but I just mist these trays with the mister bottle. This tray was actually an old mushroom tray, but I just put the little 2-inch pots in here to catch the drainage, but you can see the little string of pearls cuttings I did the other day. These are really new. And then I just did a couple cuttings of the blue beans ones or the jelly beans ones. And then that's just another cutting. This is super random, but I actually just had like fresh basil that I wasn't going to use that was going to go bad, and these all looked super droopy, and I'd never done this before, but I just put them in water and it's growing roots, so I might be putting these in pots soon. Yeah, those are like the rest of the aloe plants. Those are another couple cuttings I took from that echeveria. And then this little dude is so cute. This is another stem from one, and you see the trunk is growing these teeny tiny little babies on it, so I'm just going to keep it growing and see what happens. Yeah, I have a couple spider plants. I'll show you those in a little bit, but these are just some of the babies that grew off of it, and I'm letting them grow into their own pots. And this is like an old lettuce box that I'm using to propagate more plants. You can see like there's a bunch of leaves. Like a couple of the little bitty ones that have been here a little bit longer are starting to show some growth. That one's rotten. That's literally all I do is I take the leaves off right at the base of the stem, and I just set them in soil and I mist them. So I'm curious to see which one of these grow. Oh, look at the little one that's growing a leaf. But like the ones that are in like the little pots, I started them like this. So most of these leaves are new, so they're not growing yet. It takes some time, but this bowl right here, I have some cuttings. A lot of them are growing. Some of them I started off from cuttings and other ones started off as leaves, so those are doing really good. I think it's time to get into the new houseplant portion. So most of my plants, you could tell, are succulents, but I can't help it. Like, I've gotten curious about other plants, or sometimes I see things on Pinterest or at stores and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to see if I can keep this alive. So they have different needs than succulents, but you know what? That's okay. So I'll show you the plants that I have. This is actually a new one. I got this for $5 at Home Depot, and a lot of times Home Depot has some pretty sad looking plants. I actually went there looking for succulents, and they only had like 3 that were there, and they were literally just laying on their sides falling apart. It was so sad. It's also like towards the end of succulent season around here, I suppose, since the weather's getting cold, but I wasn't really sure what this guy was, but look at those leaves. It's beautiful, right? And there were a couple brown spots, like the tips of the leaves are brown a little bit, and there's like a couple random spots that are brown and crispy, but I was like, you know what? We will try and see what happens. So I wasn't sure what this plant was. Oh, I also painted the little pot. Isn't it cute? Can you see the sparkles? I don't know.
but I painted my colors on it. So anyways, I wasn't sure what this was, so I just knew it was cute. So I'm in a Facebook page, a Facebook group. Facebook groups are awesome. If you have a local Facebook group, I highly recommend joining it because there's a lot of people with different knowledge of different plants. And I posted a picture of this. I was like, I'm not really sure what this is. Does anyone know? And it was actually my boyfriend's brother's girlfriend. She also loves plants, and she told me the name of it. It's like a Dracaena, it starts with a W. Warneckii? I don't know how to pronounce all these. It's bad. I don't know. But I looked it up. This is a tree, y'all. This is like a little tree. These things apparently grow up to like 5 or 6 feet. It takes some time for that. I thought I bought a cute little innocent houseplant, right? This is definitely gonna outgrow that case. I don't know like how long it's gonna take. And I literally bought it with this is like the pot that it came in. The roots are already sticking out, but they say to wait, well, at least the articles I read said to wait till spring to repot it. I'm gonna do my best to wait, but I'm not sure if I should repot it now just because it really seems like it's very root bound in there. I don't know. I would honestly have to wait for it to dry out and take it out and really look at it further, but it looks like it's kind of out of room. But yeah, that's one of my pretty new houseplants. On that same Home Depot haul, I got one of these. You might have seen these all over like Instagram and Pinterest. Like they're so fun and so cute. Painted it the same as that other one. I think it's called, again, forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, PIlea Peperomoides? I don't know. But a lot of people call it like the sharing plant or the friendship plant because I guess these grow a lot of offsets really quickly and you can share them with your friends. With this one, you kind of have to rotate it so that the leaves face all different directions unless you want them all facing one direction. Like, I guess based on how you take care of it, they can grow like tall and thin or short and bushy. I'm not entirely sure, but I just thought these were super cute. I actually saw one of these for the first time when I visited some friends in Nashville a few years ago, and she had one of these on her table and I was like, that is so cool. What is that? And I finally found one. This was also $5 at Home Depot. I have a couple friends that have gotten them from there and they said they were like $12. So I don't know if this is just a smaller one or if they were on sale or what, but I love it. And you can already see like there's a bunch of tiny little leaves in there growing new ones already. Like it's insane, but this is so cute. I think some people call it a Chinese money plant. There's a bunch of little names for this. And I guess based on an article I read, these are new to the States since, what is it, 2016? Something like that. Like they've only been introduced here not that long, if that article is correct. Don't quote me on it, but that's what I read. So this is one of my spider plant babies. I think that's really all that I have left to show you are my 2 spider plants, but like you saw in that propagation tray, like all the little baby spider plants that are coming off of these plants. It's crazy. So I painted this flower pot, and this is one of the ones that grew off of my first plant. My first spider plant was actually a gift to me. All that's left are my spider plants, and this is one of them. This is actually one of the curly ones. They're so cute. I saw it at Home Depot and it already had a bunch of little babies growing off of it. Like, look at those little dudes. I've actually cut quite a few of them off and there's so many growing back. It's doing so well. So yeah, there's that spider plant. This was actually my very first spider plant. I actually did a repotting video of this guy a couple years ago now. So I might need to repot this one, but it is growing large and happy. It's got a bunch of vines. I've actually taken a lot of the babies off of this one, but it's still shooting out more. You can see those. And there's one of the flowers that's gonna turn into a plant. Yeah, so that's the main plant. And I actually got this one as a gift from my friend Leanna. It was a baby off of her plant. So that's really fun. These were actually babies off of that one. Like this one, I put 3 babies in this pot. This one's still pretty small. And I put them in here at the same time. But the thing is, like, look how big it is. It's like just as big as the regular plant, like the parent plant now, which is awesome. Over here, this is how I've been propagating the baby spider plants. So I just like cut them off once they have a couple roots, and I plop them into some water, and you can see they're starting to grow their own roots. And once they get a little bit bigger, I'm going to put them in some soil, as you saw in the propagation trays. But yeah, these are just little salt and pepper mason jar, like they're little salt and pepper shakers. And then that was just like a random jar from something in the fridge, I don't know. Okay, so I accidentally lied to you guys. I do have one more plant, and it is a brand new plant, and I'm terrified of it. So I went to a plant shop with my boyfriend the other day, and I saw these outside, and it was so cute, right? Look at those pink stripes on those leaves, right? Right? And it said it was on a sale table. So I was like, okay, I don't know what this plant is, but it's on sale, so I might as well try it, right? So I go to check out at the front. I was good. This is the only plant I got. So the lady at the front told me, she's like, okay, so these are actually on sale because we got a shipment of them, but the soil was soaking wet. Noticing a common theme, like it's not good to have soaking wet plants in shipping. So I guess like you can tell right here, like they had to cut back a lot of the plant, and these are the leaves that survived. And I didn't even know what kind of plant this was, but apparently it is I think it's called a Calathea Ornata. And I am so scared because this plant started off sick, and as I researched it, it is a plant from a tropical climate originally. I do not have a tropical climate in my apartment. These are like the kind of plants that really like, you know, humidifiers and all that stuff, and this is my only plant like that. So I'm not gonna get a huge humidifier, and even like as the weather gets colder, we're gonna be cranking up the heater. But yeah, I don't want it to die. So I think what my plan of attack is gonna be is I'm either gonna get like a really big glass jar or just something to cover it and keep it misted and humid in there, just in its own little environment. I'm eventually gonna repot it, but if it was already having issues, I'm gonna give it a minute, you know, to readjust just to being here before I repot it. So if you have any Calathea tips, let me know. I've definitely been researching a lot and watching a lot of videos. But yeah, this is my new plant, so y'all pray for me and this plant. All right, so there we have it. Those are the plants that are lurking in the back of my cover videos recently, and a couple other plants that are around the house. But I absolutely love my plants, and like I said, if you have any questions on how I've been taking care of some of them, like more specifics or any questions at all, or even if you'd like to have me do updates on different plants, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know what your favorite house plants are, and I will see you guys in the next video.